My name is George Matos, and this is The Literature Show. The Literature Show deals with books, ideas, and authors, dealing with one idea at a time. Today's show will be dealing with Lee Strobel's The Case for a Creator, which deals with Christian apologetics. In our last show, we dealt with objectivism, and we talked about different worldviews. In The Case for a Creator, Lee Strobel, who happens to be a Christian journalist, interviews several scientists in regards to their beliefs about God, refuting some of the other scientists who are not of faith. And I would like to introduce my co-host, Mr. Trevor Duberry, and he's going to talk a little bit about what Christian apologetics itself really means.
Well, George, Christian apologetics, derived from the word apologia, does not necessarily mean that one is apologizing for anything, but it's a term used in the 2nd century in regard to defending the faith. So it's based on what you believe, knowing what you believe, why you believe what you believe, and be ready to defend that belief by using evidence and things that can back what you're basically trying to portray.
So I guess in one way we could say an apologist is a person who knows and understands what they believe and is able to expound on what they believe through various means and evidence, readings, and so forth. So obviously, in the sake of saying you're a Christian apologist means that you understand basic fundamentals of Christianity.
Right. The Apostle Peter mentioned that you must know what you believe and be ready to give an account for that belief. And based on that, you must study science, you must study philosophy, psychology, so that you can adequately and eloquently defend that belief. Now, you also have to study history, and you have to study various disciplines so that you can defend your faith.
So I guess what we could say, one of the things we could say from this book is it's using science as a platform to express a belief of faith. I think that's something that people would probably in a lot of ways take for granted, in the sense that people always think that science and faith have to be contradictory. And obviously Lee Strobel is showing that science and faith really don't have to be contradictory.
Right.
Do you think that overall he puts forth a good case?
In The Case for a Creator, I think that he really did. I think he proved his point, and as an atheist himself, an unbeliever, I think he researched the evidence. He also talked to a number of scientists, and he was able to present his case very eloquently, and I think thoroughly, based on his research. And I think he was able to prove, to me, I'm convinced, based on what I've read in the book itself.
That's good. One of the things that Strobel talks about in the book is, I guess, the educational system and, going to school and so forth, and him feeling that science really got rid of the need for a creator. And so that's why his beliefs basically kind of went out the door, because originally he grew up in an environment where he did believe, and then he went from being an agnostic to being an out-and-out atheist. And then he came back to faith, and of course he says he'd done this really all through science. I guess what I'd be getting at in the question is, this is a serious decision, or a serious place to go through when you go from belief to agnosticism to disbelief to faith. What do you think, in his mind, as he looked at it, was the clincher, if you could say there's a clincher?
He was really curious because, as a reporter, He was sent on an assignment, I think, in West Virginia. There was a protest. Yeah, exactly. There was a protest going on regarding Darwin's The Origin of Species. And he was sent on an assignment to write a story about the hearing and whatnot. And I think it sparked an interest in him because of how adamant these black robe preachers were regarding their case. They definitely did not want the origin of species to be taught in their schools. In fact, evolution back in the 50s and 60s, even the 70s, I think, was a big thing, and
still is.
Still is. I mean, but you know, it was very prominent back then, and he just went on that assignment, and just based on talking to some of these preachers, he went on research to find more answers, because I think that they created something inside of him, some kind of interest as far as whether or not there is indeed a creator, whether or not there is a first cause. And just by questioning these various scientists, some of them who were atheists and became believers in God, I think that he was convinced that there is indeed a first cause. There was indeed a beginner of things, and that all that we have today came from someone who created it all.
Yeah, I don't think that the incident in West Virginia totally turned him over, but I do think, as you pointed out, it put him in a direction, an explicit and a definite direction. And I think the reason it put him in a direction is, I think he was embarrassed by the people but respected the people at the same time, which sounds like a contradiction, but from reading that chapter I definitely got that. There was the thing about here's these people that, you know, that don't want to learn, or they want to exclude certain kinds of knowledge and so forth, and I think he was kind of turned off by that. At the same time, by talking to the people, he got to understand them as human beings and individuals, which is, I think, something that he didn't really look at when he first got there. By looking at them and understanding them as human beings and individuals, I think he realized that, hey, this is a significant change in their lifestyle. By affecting their values and their belief system. When you affect people's values and belief system, you change their world, you change their society. So I think in that way, he at least admired the fact that they believe in something and they stood up for something. It's kind of like, just like us, whatever we believe in, even when a person comes up with an opposing view to what we believe, one of the things we do as people that have some value is we respect the fact that a person believes in something, regardless of whether we believe in it or not. The fact that they're willing to take a stand, I think that was significant to him and put him into a certain direction. Another thing that comes out of the book, one of the things he talks about, is his wife was converted before him.
Yes.
And so when he has a conversation with his wife about her conversion, it also starts, it seems, spinning some wheels and creating some thoughts inside his own mind, because I think when he saw how adamantly